Hello, it's Mo. So, I have been getting some questions off of Instagram and Facebook and just in the comments on YouTube, and I thought I would try to answer some of them. So, I wrote them down. They're not in any particular order, I just kind of wrote them down as I saw them. I may have missed a few, and if I did, I'm really sorry. It takes a while to kind of comb through everything and write things down, so I did the best that I could. So the first one is, do I have any pets? I don't currently. I grew up with lots of cats. At any point in time, we had 1 to 4 cats. I tend to be, I put it this way, when I moved out of my house, I went to college at 18, and I chose not to take care of anything living, just because I felt like I needed to focus on myself, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. And then as I got older, I fell in love with traveling, and I don't feel like it's very kind to an animal to not be there very often. Also, I have a career choice as a respiratory therapist that is 12.5 hour shifts. That doesn't include drive time. So I also didn't feel like that was fair to an animal, to be gone for 12.5 hours, go to bed, wake up, go back for 12.5+ hours. I just didn't feel like that was right. So I don't have any animals. I have a plant that was given to me on one of my travels to California, and I took it back on with me on the flight, and it's gone on a few flights with me, and its name is Sean. I named it after the person who gave it to me. And so I have a plant named Sean, and at one point I did try to give it a girlfriend named Vera, but she didn't make it. So I'm working on that green thumb slowly. So that's why I don't have any pets, but Sean is thriving. He's upstairs in a windowsill, and he is loving life. So the next question is kind of one I'm still figuring out. How do I deal with burnout? So I've only been doing this for about 5 months, but it is become very time consuming and challenging to figure out how to balance, all parts of my life. It takes a while to record, it takes a while to edit, to upload, to respond, to manage, multiple social media accounts, to have a personal life, to have a relationship, to have friends, family, and then my own health, of course, is very important. Eating right, taking the time to, meal plan, go to the gym, all those things. So it has been very challenging, but so far I don't feel burned out. It's just it's just trying to manage time in a way that works well. So I haven't yet had to deal with burnout, but I can absolutely see how that could happen, just because it is a lot, working full time and dealing with everything. So it is a lot. But my least favorite trigger, I do not like mouth sounds. So all of those like wet, kind of sensual mouth sounds, just eating, I don't like that at all. If you like that, that's great. I definitely don't judge people on their preferences. I think what you like is important to you. Everybody's different. That's why it makes, the world so great. So if you like that, good on you. I will not be doing any of that personally. So that's my least favorite one. Do I have any hobbies? Well, like I just said, it's kind of been difficult to manage everything, but I do like to read, and I like to read mystery novels, and then I do a lot on nutrition. In terms of the books I read, I find it fascinating to learn about, what you put in your body and seeing the direct results. And I think for me in my life, it's been huge. I don't know how much to expand on that, but I have found a very, very strong correlation to how I feel overall, mentally and physically, with what I put into my body. I have determined to self-diagnose that I don't do well with dairy and gluten and sugar, so I try really hard to not eat those things. Of course, those are all the things that you want to eat because it tastes so good. I'm definitely not perfect. Definitely not perfect. So hobbies, I like to read about diet, nutrition. I do like to work out, and then traveling. I love traveling. Oh my gosh. So I love just being in some place I've never been before and seeing something new, experiencing something new. Yeah. How old am I? I'm pretty sure you're never supposed to ask a woman how old they are. I'm kidding. I'm 33. I like to say that I'm 32 because I just decided that COVID year didn't count. But I'm 33. How did I get started with YouTube? I thought about it for a while, but being shy, it's difficult. But I got enough feedback from people that I decided why not. It's also a new year where, having gone through everything from COVID and being isolated and then going to work as a respiratory therapist and just seeing all of this trauma and my coworkers getting extremely burned out and extremely anxious, PTSD, depressed, everything, I just felt like it was the right time to try to do something that in my mind is helpful in the world, and maybe that, maybe it doesn't really touch that many people, but even if you touch a few, I think it's important. So that's kind of how I started doing this. Yeah, I've listened to ASMR for many, many years, and then as a child I experienced it a lot, or did it, I rubbed my sister's back while she fell asleep and played with her hair and those kinds of things. So yeah. What is my favorite ice cream flavor? I love that was a question. So I try not to do a lot of dairy, but I've recently discovered this brand, So Delicious, and the cashew milk one is my favorite. The coconut milk one, I feel like you can taste the coconut milk a little too much for me. I like coconut milk, but not in the ice cream, I guess. So the cashew milk, So Delicious, and then the flavor is salted caramel, and oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, I literally just found that a couple weeks ago, so I'm kind of hooked on that one right now. But I'm a really, really, really big chocolate and peanut butter fan too, so that's never, like a bad choice for me. So those are probably it. What country am I most infatuated with? Oh my gosh. I don't even have an answer for that. I have been to, I'm not actually sure, I should have counted that up before I did this, maybe 12 or so countries, rough estimate, and they're all beautiful for their own right, and it does matter who you go with, of course, that counts a great deal to your experience. But I have never been to Greece, and somehow I got into my head as a child that was going to be the most amazing country. And when my grandpa, whom I was very, very close to, asked, what country I wanted to go to, I said Greece. And I still have not been, but somehow in my head, that's like the one that I just feel like would vibe the most with me. I really like the Mediterranean diet. I really like beaches and sun and blue waters. So I feel like that would be it, but there's so many out there. How do you choose? I can't. Have I ever been to Spain or Italy? Not yet, but I'm coming. I actually was supposed to go to Spain in 2020. There is a tomato festival that they did every August, and a group of my coworkers and friends were going to go spend some time in Barcelona and Madrid, and then come down to I don't remember exactly where the town is now I think about it, but do the tomato festival and then fly back. It didn't happen, but hopefully someday. And then Italy, I just would love to go too. I mean, I don't know. I really like the hearing the Italian language. I think it's beautiful. I think it's one of the most beautiful languages that I know nothing about, but just listening to it, just wow. Where am I from? So I'm from America, United States of America, and I grew up in Washington State, not Washington, D.C. There's the capital and then there's the state. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle is the city most people associate with Washington. I'm not from Seattle. There is a mountain range that divides that state. The state's basically a rectangle, basically. And there are mountains that kind of cut through it. So anything on the west side of those mountains is really rainy and wet. And then anything on the east side is pretty dry. So I grew up on the east side towards Idaho. And I grew up with in a shrub steppe desert. That's what the official term, I believe, unless it's changed, but growing up that's what we called it. And there was definitely cactus in my backyard. So I grew up with really dry climate. I moved to the western part of the state for a few years and decided that the rain just exacerbated my depression. So I moved back towards Idaho, and then I moved to Las Vegas, and I lived in Las Vegas for about 10 years, another very dry climate, and now I'm out in North Carolina. I've been here for less than a year, so I'm about to enter my first summer here in a humid climate. I'm looking outside. I am optimistic, maybe, that it'll be fine. I just know that I don't do well with humidity, and this whole hair thing is going to be a journey. So you'll have to see what kind of things I come up with. We'll see. We'll learn it together. And if you live in a humid climate and you know what to do with hair, I am so looking for tips, because this is going to be a wild ride, I think. But we'll see. Am I single? No, I am not single. I have been in a relationship for the past year and a half. Before that, I was single for 3 years, and then before that, in and out of, relationships. So I've known my boyfriend for a decade. His sister's one of my best friends, and so I've known him and his family for a while. So yeah. Anyways, so I'm not single. What mics do I use? So currently, I have the Blue Yeti. That's the one right here. And then I also have the Shure. There's some numbers after it, and I should have written that down. I apologize. I did just get one new microphone. I haven't even opened it. It's like a very, very itty bitty one. And I'll play around with that and see what I can come up with. I do have plans eventually to get the, 3DO, the ears one, and play with that. We're just not there yet, but I do want to do that. Do I have any siblings? Yes, I have one older sister, and then her friends growing up kind of became my sisters too, because they were over at our house a lot, and my sister always invited me to do things. We're very close growing up, and she invited me to all this stuff. So even though I was 2.5 years younger than her, I ended up kind of being part of her group a little bit. Out of that group, one of them is really my other sister. I don't know how to, we're not blood related, but yeah, she was just always there for me and looked out for me the same way as my real sister did. So, and my whole family, like my parents, consider her the other sister, and my grandparents before they passed, they did too. So, yeah, so there's kind of the three of us, but not actually. And then I had a question about anxiety, and all I wrote down was anxiety, so I don't remember verbatim what the question was. But I do have a history of anxiety and depression, and I've had it. I was diagnosed in middle school, and it kind of goes up in waves, as I'm sure it does for a lot of people out there. I did use prescription medication for a while, and then I decided to come away from that just because I didn't like the way it made me feel. It's been a very long time since I've been on it. I read a book about 7 years ago maybe, and it started this journey towards positive outlook in life, trying my best to focus on positivity, just surrounding yourself with positive people, and diet and nutrition and all of those things that play into it. So you could say I started doing a lifestyle change, and I think that really, really did help. Overall, I think it helped. This last year, obviously for a lot of people, it's been very stressful. I'm the same way. It's been stressful. It's been, anxiety ridden, and, I have my moments of depression for sure still. But I do believe that if you are, and I know that it's up here, right? It's a chemical imbalance, and it's not necessarily in your control, but there are things in your life that you can control. Making sure you have a good support group, making sure that you have goals that are obtainable and that excite you. For me, my goals are, traveling or doing bucket list items, because that gives me something to look forward to. Making sure that you're getting enough sleep and water and diet and exercise and all that stuff that everybody knows. But for me, it's been literally life-changing to actually execute those things. I can tell if I have a week where I'm not eating healthier and I'm not going to the gym, I can tell my mental game is just not as strong. So, and if you want books to read about diet and nutrition, I have so many good ones, and I'll definitely recommend them to anybody who wants to know. They're excellent. And then, what does ASMR do for you? So like I said, I kind of had, I grew up with, a mom who, when I was tired, laid down on her lap and she'd play with my hair, and I'd play with my sister's hair and all those kinds of things. But it's a sense of security. It's a sense of being loved, being taken care of, even by somebody you don't know. Just knowing that there are people out there in the world, I think helps. I used to work nights only as a respiratory therapist. I did that for 6 plus years, nights only. And as someone who is on that graveyard schedule, going to sleep during the day can be a challenge. So I started listening to ASMR specifically when I started my career as a respiratory therapist, because it just helped me block out the sounds of the street and the dogs and the neighbors, and it was soothing and relaxing, and it kind of just also quiets my own mind because there's a lot of chatter up there. So for me, it gives me something to focus on, block everything out, and it quiets my own mind. So I used it initially as a sleep method, I guess, instead of, taking medications or melatonin to make you sleep. I used that. And I still do, definitely do that. I flip-flop between days and nights right now, and then down the road, the goal is to switch to days only. We'll see how it goes. But, so yeah, ASMR definitely does that for me personally. And then also just seeing the community of people, especially on, one of my favorites is Whispers Red, and just seeing the comments in the community and that she's built or people have flocked to her, I just really appreciate it. Like, people are non-judgmental, they're loving, they're supportive, they're positive, their acknowledgement of, yes, people are flawed and there are issues, but there's hope and we can do something about it. I think it's beautiful. We all have our issues, we all have our flaws, we all have things that we don't like about ourselves. One of my eyes is more droopy than the other. I hate that, but it's just one of those things that we are who we are, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to find people who understand you. It's okay to reach out. It's okay if you're not okay. So, I know it's kind of a crazy answer, but I feel like it gives me that space, that safe space, to just be like, okay, I'm not alone. There are people who have anxiety, who have depression, and are in varying stages. But this is a space where people can come to and get something out of it. So I guess that's what ASMR does for me. So those are the questions. I don't think I missed any on my list. So if I missed some because I didn't see them, I'm sorry. Like I said, it takes a while to kind of comb through these comments. I should have been writing them down as they came, but it's raining. Sorry, squirrel. As they came, but if I missed something, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll do another one down the road, or maybe I'll do a live one, maybe. We'll see. Thank you for taking the time and an interest in getting to know me better. I can be shy, I can be kind of closed off, but I will try to be better about that. You are loved so much. You have no idea how much this stuff means to me. So thank you for spending some time with me. And I'm gonna get going on some other requests. Thank you.